What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to my channel, Money Moves with K. I am K, and today we're going to talk about the worst mistake that a new investor can make when they purchase properties at a tax auction, okay? Trust me, I've made these mistakes in the past, and that mistake is not doing enough due diligence. You can get kind of sucked into this world of tax auctions and see a property for $50 or $500 or whatever the case may be, and just purchase it. Not do due diligence, not do the proper research in order to find out if it's really a good deal. You also have to identify your exit strategy. If you're trying to purchase these properties for yourself, maybe create generational wealth for your family, pass it on to a daughter, anybody else in your family, you can purchase these properties for very, very inexpensively, right? So these are cheap properties a lot of times. A lot of times they're not, especially in the bidding process in those tax deed states where the bidding kind of just goes up and up and up. You may not get as good of a deal as if you invest maybe in a tax lien state, which we'll discuss in further detail in my course. By the way, the course comes out May 2nd. From May 2nd through May 5th, it's going to be a sale, 50% sale. So make sure you grab it, because after that, the price does go back up to the original price. You can join the wait list. You don't necessarily have to join the wait list, but I would suggest that you do. I'll send you a reminder the day before and the day of the actual sale so that you don't miss it. Okay, so keep that in mind. But back to this, due diligence is very key. I want to show you something real quick. So this is, and I teach due diligence in the course as well, along with other things that beginners need to know step by step in order to make the right decision with regards to purchasing at a tax auction, because this is new for you. If this is your very first time purchasing a tax auction property, this may be the course for you. All right, so let's look at this property. So it has a minimum bid of $350. And by the way, the website that I am on is tax-sale.info. So this particular website is for Michigan. They sell a lot of surplus properties and a lot of auction properties as well. So this is a surplus property. Now you could get fooled and say, hey, this is $350. What a good deal. Sign me up. Send me the information, everything. However, it's on the surplus list. That's number one, which means that it was left over. Maybe folks didn't purchase it for a reason. And you can kind of see that a lot of folks, look at this. So when you purchase land on these lists, whether it be surplus or just a tax auction sale in general, you need to look at, especially with land, you need to look at the size, the dimensions of the land, the acreage, and also the shape. If you look at this, I say slither. So it's like a little slither of land. This may not fit in your wheelhouse or your criteria of what you're looking for, okay? And in addition to that, you need to identify how in the world do you maneuver and go through and check to see if there are any other liens associated with that. This is a quick like pro tip, I guess, is if you, first of all, tax sales take priority over a mortgage, and I'll run this down in my course as well. But they do not take priority over governmental liens, other governmental liens such as property assessments, other liens associated with the property. So it could be a utility lien, a water lien. I've seen IRS liens. I've seen all type of things. So you need to identify how in the world to find out if this property has any additional liens. Yes, I'll always suggest do a title search, but the things I suggest more importantly is you do this research before you even hand it to a title company or a lawyer to do a title search for you. So you need to identify some of these things yourself. Excuse me. So keep that in mind. A lot of these properties could be also landlocked. That could be an actual home. I've seen homes landlocked and they're just like a little hard to assess dirt road. But landlocked basically means it's surrounded by other land and it's really no access to the property. You have limited access to the property or none at all. And that land can actually be used and utilized in different ways, such as some people buy it for hunting. They just want some land to just kind of maneuver, maybe ride their four-wheelers or something like that. But you do have to cross someone else's land in order to get to yours, okay? So that could be problematic. You want to make sure there are no environmental issues with the property, right? How do you check for that? Look at this property right here. So it's, again, it looks like it may be a main road. And what could you do with that? There are many ideas that you could come up with to try to figure that out, but not many, okay? So I can kind of see already that the reason why these properties were left on the surplus list is because they're not really useful. Look, check this out. Like this is where the property is, and it's in the middle of nowhere. Like, how do you access that property? I will also suggest to look at it Street View from the Google Earth platform. So put the address in there. You might say, Kay, this is interesting. You might say, Kay, what if the actual land doesn't have an address, which happens a lot. If you are interested in land investing, it may not have an address. So how in the world do you find out where the property is positioned to get more information? I'll go over that in the course as well. And not all properties, by the way, not all properties on these lists are land. A lot of these properties are actual homes. A lot of properties are commercial properties as well. So you can get a plethora of different types of properties on these lists, okay? Let's see. All right, so that is some of the properties that I wanted to show you. Also wanted to show you this. So this is kind of like a sneak peek into the course. It's just a picture that I'm gonna share, and I'm gonna share a story with you guys because this actually happened to me as I was investing in some property, okay? So this wasn't necessarily on a tax auction property list. However, this category is, all right? So this was a property that I looked at, and I've actually used this picture as my thumbnail one time because I had in my catalog of properties that I've either purchased or wholesaled or just dealt with in general. So this property was demolished, okay? So a quick backstory. I called the owner to this property. I'm like, hey, I see this property. I'm interested in it. And this actual family was in the Virgin Islands. So I called them and I was like, hey, I'm interested in this property. I see that it's abandoned. I did my whole spiel, right? So it come to find out, this property was on a demolished list, which could fit under the category of a property assessment, right? You need to identify if there's anything attached with this property. So pretty much the county thought that this property, which was correct, they thought the property was blight, right? Meaning that it was unoccupied, unuseful, and they didn't want the property to be used for other negative things, such as maybe squatters or somebody who is occupying the property for something illegal, whatever the case may be. So they had it on a demolished list, meaning the county was going to come and demolish, knock down the home. But I didn't know that. This is my beginning stages of investing, okay? I did not know that. So I was still thinking, oh, this is a good deal. And, thinking back on it, I think the owner might have known this property is going to get knocked down. But they were like, yeah, I'm ready to sell. So maybe they were trying to get over on me being, kind of wet behind the ears and not knowing what to do as an investor with this property. So a couple weeks go by. I actually get permission to re-key the lock. Have somebody come and re-key the lock for me so I can have access, because the actual door was either jammed or they lost the keys. That's what it was. They lost the keys, right? So a couple weeks go by and I go back to just check on the property, and the property was gone. I was like, what happened to this property? It was gone. I called the county and they said, yes, it was demolished. Now, you need to understand that when the property is demolished, it just doesn't go bye-bye. Somebody has to pay for that. So the actual owners that are attached to the property do have to pay for that property, or the demolished, the process to get the property demolished. And in this case, I think it was about $10,000. So that is considered something, a lien, something against the property. So I just wanted to share that because that literally, every time I think about it, I laugh because it was hilarious now. It is hilarious now, but it was not at the time. I was very upset at the time. That's the end of my video. I just really wanted to stress to you guys that due diligence is very, very important. I gave you examples and I go over this in the course. Make sure May 2nd through May 5th, you check out the course. It'll be 50% off. And I go over a ton of things to kind of get you from A to Z as a beginner, step by step. Okay, guys? If you made this far in the video, in the comment section, type do your due diligence. Or let's make it simple and just type the word diligence. And I know that I don't want you to type a whole paragraph. Just type diligence in the comment section. I know you made it to this point. Until next time, guys, you stay blessed. Peace.